This old man has always been used to walking to the beach every day. He always sits and waits for something. His friends felt sorry for him and thought he was just wasting his time. But one day a wolf appeared on the sand, and his sadness turned into overwhelming joy. Henry, who is 63 years old, made sitting on the beach a daily habit. Everyone in the area knew about it, but no one really understood the reason for his insistence. The man heard the whispers and gossip from his neighbors, but he didn't let it affect him, for the pain in his heart was louder than anything they could say. Last year had been painfully harsh on him. The woman he loved, his wife who had stood by his side for decades, passed away after a long and exhausting battle with cancer. Losing Margaret left him feeling completely lost. They had been together since childhood, and now without her, he had no idea how to move forward. He kept a necklace with a green gemstone, a necklace they had chosen together during their trip to Africa. It was the only thing that made him feel like she was still there, even if she wasn't. Most days, he would sit alone in the quiet parts of the house, holding the necklace tightly in his hands, surrounded by memories that brought him both comfort and pain at the same time. Henry stopped eating properly and neglected his appearance. It was obvious that he was fading. His son saw that too and knew he had to do something to pull his father out of this darkness. He thought that what Henry needed more than anything else was a bit of companionship, someone to take care of him again, so he brought him a puppy home, a dark brown Siberian husky with sharp eyes and a lively spirit. The dog was young, full of energy, and completely untrained, but his son thought this might be a good distraction and a new goal in his father's life. But he didn't realize how closed off his father was. Henry didn't want to make room for anyone new, not even a dog. The man kept his distance from the puppy, only doing the basics for him, feeding him and making sure he had water. But when the puppy tried to play or get close, Henry gently stopped him, maintaining both a physical and emotional distance between them. He never gave the puppy a name. It was easier that way to avoid getting attached. Every day was the same. The puppy would jump around, trying to bring life into the house, and Henry would quietly step away and close the door. However, the little husky didn't give up, and no matter how cold or distant Henry was, the puppy kept trying. He wagged his tail and nudged to get attention, always optimistic. Then, on one quiet day, something changed. Henry was sitting in the living room, lost in his thoughts, when he noticed something strange. The usual sounds of the dog's footsteps and soft barking had stopped. The silence felt odd, too quiet. With curiosity and concern, Henry entered the hallway that led to his bedroom and Margaret's room. What he saw when he opened the door stopped him in his tracks and changed everything between him and the puppy, who was curled up on the bed. The gentle little dog was holding something between his tiny paws. It was the necklace. Margaret's necklace. Somehow the puppy had found it and was now lying quietly, as if protecting it, as if it brought him peace. It was clear that the little dog had been drawn to the scent, perhaps to the sense of something important. This necklace had always been very precious to Henry, tied to memories he could barely talk about. Seeing the puppy resting with it on the same bed that held so much love. One day, something deeply moved Henry. He stood there, still, watching the gentle rise and fall of the puppy's chest. Then, without even thinking, a name came from deep within him. He called the puppy Gaspar, after the necklace, after Margaret, after this very moment that broke something in his heart. This simple name felt right. It carried meaning. He felt as if it was a small bridge between the past and the present, between the woman he lost and the little creature that somehow found its way into his life. As he stood in the doorway, the warmth that had long been frozen inside him began to stir. The way Gaspar gently held the necklace, it reminded him of the trust, love, and connection he believed lost forever. From that day forward, things began to change between Henry and the dog, slowly and gently. But surely the man who had kept his distance began to open up to the little husky who waited for him in his quiet way. Henry stopped treating Gaspar as a heel and began to see him for what he truly was, a friend, a little heart full of love who had chosen him. He started taking him for a walk every day, letting the breeze, the sea, and the ocean air wash away a part of his pain. The beach, which was once a place of sorrow, began to feel like a place for new beginnings. As time passed, their days became fuller. Gaspar was no longer just a dog to be fed and walked, he became loving. Henry would laugh at Gaspar's stubborn refusal to sit, even during training. He found himself amazed at how quickly the dog learned and how smart and playful he was. The house, which used to be quiet and heavy, was now filled with noise and joy. Henry was proud to be Gaspar's owner. As the months passed, Henry changed too. He was no longer just grieving, he was living again. The walks with Gaspar led to conversations with other dog owners. He found himself part of a small group that met in the park, sipping coffee while their dogs played. He started eating again, sometimes at home and sometimes out, but no matter where he went, he always asked for a table for two. For him and Jasper, the quiet and lonely man who felt he had nothing left to live for, was now just a memory, replaced by someone full of warmth, with love flowing from him once again. Henry's son couldn't have been more grateful. He had his father back. Deep down, he knew that all of this was thanks to that little husky who came into their lives when they needed him most. But what his son didn't know was that life was about to pull the rug of simplicity out from under Henry once again, and this time there would be nothing he could do to make it better. On a sunny morning like any other, Henry and Jasper headed to the beach for their usual routine. After a round of playing with the frisbee, Henry relaxed in his beach chair, smiling as he watched Jasper run on the sand. But in the blink of an eye, Jasper disappeared. At first, Henry thought that maybe he had wandered behind the sand dunes. He stood up, looked around, and called his name. Nothing. Panic quickly set in. Henry started running, calling out louder. Nearby, people noticed and joined the search. The waves were calm, the road was far away, and there were no signs that Jasper had headed toward either one. Henry noticed a narrow path leading through some thick bushes and into the nearby forest, and he rushed through it, but there was no sign of Jasper for days. Henry and his friends from the park combed the area, put up posters, called shelters, and knocked on doors, but with each passing day, fewer people showed up to help. The search went cold. It seemed as if Jasper had vanished into thin air. The loss hit Henry like a punch to the chest. Just as he had started to feel better, life took a piece of his heart and hid it away. The once lively beach now felt empty. He kept coming back every day, sitting in his usual chair, his eyes scanning the beach, waiting, hoping, listening for footsteps he no longer heard. The sound of the waves, which was once so comforting, now seemed like a lullaby for something lost. Weeks turned into months, then into years. Henry never stopped hoping, never stopped searching. He simply couldn't believe that the world could be cruel enough to take away his wife and his dog. Most days he would sit there staring at the waves, as if they held secrets he wasn't ready to hear. Then one day, everything changed. It was a morning like any other. Same chair, same place, same view of the horizon. But something was different. Not exactly wrong, just different. A strange stillness settled over him, as if the wind had stopped and the world was holding its breath. Henry couldn't explain it, but he felt it, as if something or someone was watching him. The hairs on his neck stood up, his chest tightened. Something was coming, but he didn't know what it was. Henry turned slowly, feeling a chill run through his body. When his eyes fell on an unexpected sight, standing at the edge of the shore was a lone wolf staring directly at him. Its eyes didn't blink. They were sharp and steady. Henry should have felt afraid, but he didn't. The only thing that crossed his mind was how strange it was to see a wild wolf here of all places. There was a small forest not far away, but still it didn't make sense for a wolf to appear on the beach. Like this. It seemed as if time had frozen. Neither of them moved. They just kept staring at each other across the quiet sand, and then, as if someone had snapped their fingers, when the moment broke, the wolf turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Henry standing there, confused and trembling. Most people would have been scared to see a wolf, but Henry wasn't like most people. Instead of fear, something else ignited inside him. curiosity. He kept returning to the shore, not out of habit anymore, but because he needed to understand what he had seen. Why didn't the wolf growl or run away? Why did he feel as if the animal was watching him, and not just a passerby? Henry knew that things seemed strange, even to him, when his son begged him to move to a safer place. Henry almost agreed, but something deep inside him told him there was more to this, something important he wasn't supposed to miss. So he kept coming every day in the same way. The tide came in, the sun rose and set, but there was no sign of the wolf. Still, Henry kept coming, waiting and hoping. The beach became something new, part comfort, part mystery. It held something elusive. Then one evening, just as doubt began to creep in, the wolf returned. It stood there again, against the calm colors of the sunset, almost glowing in the dim light. But this time, it didn't leave. It stayed in place, staring at Henry again. There was something in those eyes that pulled at his memory, something he knew deep down. It was impossible, even ridiculous, but the thought wouldn't leave him. Could this wolf be Jasper? His Jasper? It didn't make sense. Years had passed, but those eyes, that look, were exactly like the puppy who had filled his world with joy. One day, Henry felt a lump in his throat. He took a breath and called out the name that had lived in his heart since Jasper disappeared. Jasper. He spoke softly, the word lingered. Then, unbelievably, his eyes sparkled. The wolf wasn't just a glimmer, but something deeper, you know? It was as if the name had pulled a thread that connected them across time. The wolf didn't just react. It ran toward Henry with a burst of energy. It felt more like a homecoming than anything else. Body. A laugh burst from my chest, Henry. It was loud, free, and full of amazement. He hadn't laughed like that in years. The scruffy, skinny wolf, Jasper, reached him and buried his head in Henry's chest, as if no time had passed at all. Henry fell to his knees, wrapping his arms around the animal he thought he'd lost forever. A wave of emotions washed over him, relief, joy, amazement. Jasper, who was once a clumsy pup, had somehow come back. He'd grown, become wilder, but he was still his dog. How had he missed that before? He's the wolf of hidden things, the quiet strength, the way he was always just a little different from other dogs. Maybe Jasper always had that wild spark inside him. Maybe the call of the wild was just too strong. But none of that matters now. What matters is this moment that he's back. Henry's mind filled with memories. Jasper's funny leaps as a puppy. His stubborn refusal to sit still. The way he would follow Henry all around the house with endless curiosity. And now here he is. Not a puppy anymore, but something even more wonderful. Somehow Jasper survived on his own. He made his way through the wild and returned as the sun slowly dipped, painting the sky a soft golden pink. Henry and Jasper stood side by side on the shore, the routine that only carried memories. Now, it opened the door to something new. More days, more walks, more quiet moments under the stars. If you were moved by Henry and Jasper's incredible journey, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Lower.